What's good, everybody? It's your brother Mad Black, the most dangerous and the most toxic black man on the internet, and I am black up in your face again with some more pro black commentary. So it seems that the entrepreneur and influencer Tabitha Brown has upset some folks on social media again, and this time she has upset people because she has told them that instead of banging your head against the wall trying to be this self-made entrepreneur, maybe it's time you just go ahead and get a job instead, right? And it's when I saw her video, like I saw it popping up on different social media platforms, and I decided to finally sit and watch it. And I didn't see what the controversy was. Like, I didn't see what the big deal was. I thought maybe I was missing something, right? But after I thought about it for a while, I saw a lot of people, getting upset with her and being hurt and saying that, Tabitha Brown is stepping on my dreams or whatever because she told me to stop being an entrepreneur and just go ahead and get a job. Now, listen, as someone who has been self employed at times and someone who has had a job at times, I've done white collar work, I've done blue collar work, I've worked in retail, I've worked in warehouses, I've let's see, what else have I done in my lifetime? I've worked in grocery, I have worked in marketing, both the front and the back end of marketing. I've worked in like digital marketing. I've worked in telemarketing. Um, let's see what else. I've done a lot over the years. So I've had a lot of different types of jobs, and you know, as far as somebody who, I'm somebody who also creates content and who creates products. So, I can understand from kind of, I guess, both sides of this situation where some of the ill feelings might come from. However, I have never been someone who is so proud to say that I don't need a job or I don't need money. Like I've never been someone who is like, well, um, let me just go ahead and keep doing the same thing that's not working. You know what I mean? That's not realistic, and it's just not practical as far as just being an adult and living a life. You can't just keep doing some of the same things over and over again and expecting the world to change. At some point, you have to change and reassess and think about how things are going and maybe just make some adjustments. Make some changes so that way you can get back on track and move in that positive direction. That's truly what business is all about anyway. You're always going to have to reassess. Even if you are successful at business, at some point something is going to go wrong and you're going to have to reassess and think about different directions that you can go in, right? But what she said, I have no problem with what Tabitha Brown said. I thought she was actually being very lovingly honest about what it means to be an entrepreneur. And I appreciate that from her because she's someone who is successful. She's someone who I've watched their career grow over the years. Like I remember when she just started out, doing just regular social media posts about like her family or cooking or whatever. And she has grown into this, media mogul basically, and showcasing her family and her recipes and stuff like that. And I've always appreciated her based on just her personality and her honesty about what she's had to go through as someone who's trying to grow their own business. Like even when she was starting out, she was still working, she had regular jobs, she worked, she did Uber, right? So that's what I'm saying. It's like there's nothing wrong with having a job while you achieve your dreams. You see? Like you can use that money that you make at your job and use that to help you pursue your dreams. You can help use that to help grow your business. You can use that as your seed capital. You see what I'm saying? There's nothing wrong with that. But, people got so upset with her. And I think the reason is because of social media, there's this whole entrepreneur mindset, or these fake, you have so many of these fake entrepreneurs on social media telling you that, you can quit your 9 to 5 and you can get out there and get this, that, and the third. And there's so many scam artists out there that, they've put into people's minds that, you're not supposed to have a job, or, there's something wrong with you if you have a job. A 9 to 5 is a waste of time. But like all this nonsense, right? And you know me, I'm an advocate for understanding what a job is and what a 9 to 5 is. It's not so much, it's not so much a hate against having a job. I don't have any problem with anyone having a job and going to work, but just don't let that job abuse you. That's the only thing I've always been an advocate for. Just be careful with how these jobs like try to take advantage of you, or just try to take advantage of your time. But if you understand that this is an exchange, you're exchanging your time and your energy to get, financial compensation, or whatever kind of compensation, use that to your own benefit, and use that so that you can do something with it later on. Maybe move it towards your own business and your own dreams, right? That's all it is. And you need to have that understanding. But there's nothing wrong with having a job. But you have these fake ass gurus out here who, most of them, all they're trying to do is sell their course, right? They're trying to talking to you about what you can do and how you can be this entrepreneur and how you can, get Bitcoin or cryptocurrency. They're going to teach you the ropes of everything, right? It's always funny to me how these people pop up and make it seem like, hey, I'm all knowing, I'm wealthy, I did this and that, I got a Lambo, I go around in private jets. They tell you all this, but they're still selling a course. Like, it's like, okay, so your money didn't come from whatever you claim to be selling. It came from you selling these courses. That's where your money truly comes from. And basically, they're going to teach you how to sell a course, which makes no sense whatsoever. It's like the ultimate pyramid scheme, basically. you know, but that's how ridiculous things have gotten on social media, and this quote unquote entrepreneur mindset, I think, has messed a lot of people up, where they make it seem like, and I know, like I said, I know having just a regular job can be frustrating, but there's nothing wrong with having a job. People need to have jobs, because if no one has a job or is taking care of the other things in life, then we won't have a society. You can't have just everyone be an entrepreneur. It's not for everybody. Everyone can't be a boss, or everyone can't be a CEO, because if that happened, the world would just fall apart. But I talked to you guys about this before when I said, like, everyone pimps to you being a billionaire or being a CEO, but who's going to work for you then? If everyone's a CEO or everyone's their own individual LLC boss, where are you going to get employees from? You can't do it all by yourself. As much as these corporate overlords make it seem as if they've done everything by themselves, you can't actually do it by yourself. You need employees. You're going to need help somewhere. And even beyond that, with just the systems that are working within your society, you're going to need somebody to pick up the trash. You need someone to build the roads. You need someone to construct the buildings. You can't have an office, right? You don't have an office, or you don't have a convention center to have your little MLM pyramid scheme meetings if no one builds it, right? That's what I'm saying. Is like you need regular people at these lower levels, at these blue collar jobs, to create these things, or else the society just won't function, you see? But like I said, they promote to people all the time that, hey, we need everyone to be an entrepreneur, or we need everyone to just build a business. And that's just not realistic. That's not for everybody. And I once again, I appreciate Tabitha Brown saying that. Someone needed to say it, because these fake ass entrepreneurs and gurus, they'll blow smoke up your ass and just have your whole life ruined because they're lying to you. At least she was honest. I can appreciate that. It's not for everybody. And even with her, who's to say that whatever business she has is going to last forever, right? Like, if the way I think about business is, whatever success you have, you might want to, you know, save and put away as much as you can, because you never know how long that's going to last. You never know how long that ride is going to last, just based on how the economy goes and how trends change, right? Especially if you're in something that's kind of trendy at one point, it might not be trendy 10 years later. So get as much as you can out of it. And if you can't switch gears, at least you can retire with what you made, on that business that you first created, right? On that idea that you first created. That's the way I think of it anyway. So, you know, it's very rare that you have somebody in her position actually be honest with their audience. And I don't see it as her, just pissing on their dreams. I see it as her being honest, and because, like I said, she said it in a very loving way. That's one of the things I've always appreciated about her. She comes off as very motherly and, very mature in the way that she tells people things. It's always with, I'm trying to help you, not as I'm trying to be mean to you, right? So I appreciate the way that she does things. So what she said was very loving, and telling you that it might not be working now, and no one's saying that it's never going to work, but it's probably best that you get a job. And I agree with that. Get a job, and maybe you can use that money from that job to help your dreams. That could be the best thing for you right now. And I don't see anything wrong with that, what she said. So, I mean, you folks can let me know how you feel about it in the comments section. I would love to hear your opinions on this subject matter. Anyway, Mad Black, and I will be back with my foot on the devil's back.